I have to ask while I have you.
Instant like fire.
Um, can you kind of go into that just a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people, let's say, okay, there's 2 points that are coming to a saddle and a drain starts. A
Okay.
lot of people will tend to not hunt like right down in the drain because they're afraid of being eye level with the deer.
Okay.
Where some guys, I mean, you would have to ask Chris for this specifically, but I have personally set up where I am almost in that drain eye level with them because it is a point of like where they're not going to cross like the steep right below you, but they will cross that little bit of a belly right at the top. Like maybe it's a 4-foot drop and 4 foot up instead of going up to the smooth spot. You'll watch the does. An example, I'm sure you guys hunt hill country.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've seen a buck chasing a doe across the side of the hill. She goes the path of least resistance. He just beelines straight down and across and cuts her off and turns her around. And then they go up and over the saddle and out of your sight. Where if you would have been sitting in that drain right after it starts, he would have crossed right in front of you or underneath you and stopped on that hillside where the does or maybe the younger bucks are going to tail them, being not, again, a younger, not inexperienced deer might go right across that smooth spot. And a lot of people will set up on the smooth spot, thermals drop down into the drain, doe's coming, buck beelines, he freezes because he hit your scent, she freezes. Now they're both on edge and you're just kind of playing that cat and mouse game, and all of a sudden he turns to her and they go straight up and over.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was sort of wondering is, do you feel like they're working those drainages basically to collect information?
Yeah. I mean, it's so much quicker for a buck to just hit a drain, check everything above it, than walk the 500-600 yards around. They'll just kind of beeline down, up, smell everything, you're good.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if you're set up and you're eye level with them, just don't move. If you're still, like, you're fine. It's the people that get too antsy, grab their bow, moving around, that might get busted, but it comes down to your own ability.
Yeah. Chris, I'm going to make your point more relevant to tracking. So give you a bonus here.
I get to stay on the team.
Yeah. So obviously drain's a decent example right there. What terrain features are you looking for when you want to pick up a track? Like, is there a place that you're like, I'm going to find high density of tracks in these types of areas. This is where I'm going to start my track mission.
I start in bottoms. If I got enough snow or if it's wet and you're tracking in just like mud, start in bottoms, obviously, and go from there. Is it
just because it's easy to pick out the tracks in bottoms?
Yeah, and it's more of a path of least water travels downhill, path of least resistance. So you're going to be able to cover a lot more area quicker by starting in those low lying areas than going ridge tops. It's gonna take you longer.
Gotcha.
I like it.
Just being efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, it looks like you had one.
I did. Kind of going off of what you were just talking about. So when you're just for like an application purpose, when you're in a bottom and you find a track, and this could be in reference to like maybe time of year or time of day, but what is telling you, okay, this is a recent track and this was I guess made recent enough for you to be like, okay, I'm going to go track this deer because I know this was made a few hours ago, earlier in the day, and I know that I have enough time in the day to actually catch up to the deer?
Good question.
So let's say it's dry, you're hunting drier terrain. Well, it depends on how the temperature, the moisture content Is the dirt kicked up? Is it dry at all? Did it dry out? Is it still wet? How hard is it kicked up? Because if, let's say you get a track that's in the bottom, that's in mud, and it rained that night, but it's kicked up and it's got dry mud on it, but that dry mud's kicked out a foot or two, that tells you that it was probably moving at a pretty quick pace.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it moving at a pretty quick pace? Well, it's November the 10th. That deer was on something, so like your chances of catching up to it are probably slim to none, especially if it stopped raining at midnight and it is now 6 a.m. Where in the snow, an application would be, I personally like going while it's snowing, and because you can timing your rates, especially just test it yourself. Go out in your driveway, take a few steps in the snow, stand there for 5 minutes, turn around and look at your track and see how much it's covered up. And you can just start learning these traits on how hard it's snowing and implement the timing. And then basically that's going to start, for me, telling me, okay, I can catch up to this deer. I got 3 hours. This is within 2 hours. It's going uphill. It's probably going to take its time. If I'm on a top and it's going downhill, it's probably going to hit the bottom quick and going to slow down on the opposite hillside. So it's like, okay, just maybe not follow it, get off the trail and then look on that opposite hillside.
That's cool.
I'll set my alarm for March to check my tracks in the snow.
Yeah.
We're that lucky even.
Yeah. But the snow makes it so much more easier.
Yeah.
It is a thing that we're the people that hunt in the areas that it does snow and you're able to do this in vast tracts of land. But tracking isn't just one of those things. Like, you don't have to learn to do it to harvest something. You can learn to do it to maybe give you clues and sense of direction.
Yeah.
Going back to something, like, let's say you've seen your target buck, you haven't seen him all year. You've sat for him 10 times. You finally seen him one time. It's October the 20th. He crossed the creek down below you. Why not go down, look at his track, take a picture of it, distinguish its size, put your hand in it, feel it, learn everything you possibly can. And now later in the year, you find it somewhere else on a different point and you can match it up perfectly. And you're like, there's the clue that I've been missing the entire time.
Yeah.
It's a distinguishing factor.